Okay, you're live, Chair Kuznick.
Thank you, and welcome to the Planning Commission for November 16th. And I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Prior to roll call, the city attorney would like to make an announcement to the Planning Commission regarding the teleconferencing of this meeting. So we turn it over to Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Alicia Poon.
Thank you, Chair Kuznick. Prior to roll call, I would like to make clear for the record of this meeting, and it should be reflected in the minutes, that the governor has issued executive orders relaxing the requirements pertaining to remote meetings under the Brown Act. The executive orders authorizes Planning Commission to hold public meetings by teleconference during the COVID-19 crisis. I previously went over the specific provisions of the Brown Act that have been temporarily amended or suspended in order to allow for this meeting to take place by teleconference, and this meeting will comply with all such provisions. Madam Recording Secretary, it would now be appropriate for you to conduct roll call, after which I would ask the chair to recognize me in order to confirm certain matters for the record. Thank you.
Thanks, Alicia. All right, Planning Commissioner Edwards.
Here.
Thank you. Planning Commissioner Marks.
Here.
Planning Commissioner Wallace.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Alpert.
Here.
And Chair Kuznick.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we return to Ms. Poon, and you will finish confirming our matters for the record.
Thank you again, Chair Kuznick. I would now like to ask the chair, the vice chair, and the other commission members 3 questions. Rather than ask you to respond separately to these questions, I'll ask all 3. And if the answer is yes to all 3, please say yes and physically raise your hand. Question number 1, can you hear me well? Question number 2, have you been able to hear all previous speakers, including the roll call, clearly? And question 3, are you satisfied based on facial or voice recognition or otherwise that everyone here representing themselves to be a commission member is actually the person they are representing themselves to be? I'm looking for hands and yeses, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Seeing all hands raised, the record should reflect that I have received affirmative answers from each commission member present to all 3 questions, that all commission members have indicated they are able to hear each other and these proceedings clearly. And no commission member has expressed doubt that each and every commission member participating by teleconference is in fact the commission member they are representing themselves to be. And finally, I would now like to advise the chair and the commission members and the recording secretary that any votes taken during the teleconference portion of this meeting must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now if we can have the Pledge of Allegiance, please, Jen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All right, we move to item 4, public comment or written communication. At this time, we'll ask our recording secretary to provide the direction to the public on how to speak during public comment.
You may click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak during public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the Planning Commission on any item not already included in tonight's agenda.
Okay.
Now, we did not receive any written communication for this item, and I will take a peek and see if we have any hands raised at the moment. I don't see any hands.
I agree. I will. We will close public comment on unagendized items, and we will move on to item 5. Okay. Item 5 is additions and revisions. There are none. Moving on to item 6, the consent calendar. We have no items. Item number 7, approval of the minutes. We have minutes, item 7.1, minutes from November 2nd, regular Planning Commission meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So
Or
moved.
is there a discussion for the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second Commissioner Marks is first.
Thank you. I will do a roll call vote. We had mover Commissioner Marks,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. We had also seconder Vice Chair Alpert.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Wallace.
Aye.
And Chair Kuznick.
Aye.
I think I got everyone there. Item 7.1 passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, continued items after closing of public hearing. There are none. We move to item number 9, continued items. Open the public hearing. There are none. So now we move to item 10, public hearing. Item 10.1, Belmont Village Senior Care Facility. And we have a staff report by Mr. Lauren Barr. Mr. Barr.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for a brief PowerPoint presentation. If we can bring the applicant's team forward. I'm going to run through my slides, and then I'd like to, if the chair is all right, just move on to Belmont's presentation and have them go through the architecture rather than breaking significantly between the two. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Can you see the slide?
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Great. All right, so this is Belmont Village at San Ramon Residential Care Facility for the elderly. The site is located south side of Bollinger Canyon Road on a vacant piece of property that's general planned mixed-use city center. It's zoned city center mixed use, and it's 2.23 acres. And again, it's accessed, it's just north of the Bishop Ranch 1 office complex, again, on a vacant piece of property. So this site is part of the City Walk Master Plan approvals, but the site has a much longer history. It goes back to the City Center project. As part of that development application, there were 3 office buildings contemplated for the site. That was replaced by the City Walk Master Plan, the neighborhood BR1A, which is shown here. And then what you have is this residential care facility taking up one of the potential sites. And again, the master plan looked at this property for 652 residential units on the 3 parcels, plus the South Parkway Green. And then there are also design guidelines applicable to the property. Back in April, the applicant filed a concept review, and so we had some very diagrammatic massing diagrams that were provided. And they got pretty good feedback from the commission in terms of the use and scale of the project. And then since that time, they've been working to refine their architecture and come up with a proposal before you tonight. So what we have is 177 units or 183 beds of licensed residential care for the elderly. And it's broken down between independent living units, assisted living units, what they refer to as circle of friends units, and then memory care units. The building mass itself is 6 stories and approximately 180,000 square feet. They propose a shared parking concept with the Bishop Ranch 1 office buildings. And then there's a series of site amenities, landscape lighting that have been incorporated. We went to the Architectural Review Board on September 9th, and then the applicant responded to those comments in the set of plans before you tonight. And then there's also a summary that's provided as an attachment to the staff report. The project was deemed complete October 18th of this year, and then we moved forward to the hearing. So here is just a quick overview of the site plan, how it relates to the property and the other parcels. Bollinger Canyon Road is to the top of the page, past the multifamily housing lot there. The Bishop Ranch 1 East Road is to the right, Iron Horse Trail just past that. And then to the west or left in this case is the park site. And as you can see, it's a building with a couple of wings. surrounding a courtyard with pool and amenities. And then the entry is off of Bishop Ranch 1 East Road with a porte-cochere drop-off area. So this is a project rendering that's evolved from the massing diagrams that you originally saw in the concept review, and then has incorporated some of the comments from the Architectural Review Board. And again, I'm going to let the applicant walk through their architecture and design and let their architect provide you the details of the vision that they're trying to put forward. So as part of the development review, we looked at consistency with the zoning development standards for the city center mixed use. We looked at consistency with the master plan guidelines, the City Walk master plan guidelines. We did do a development review committee forward and got comments from outside agencies, which have been incorporated into the resolution as an attachment. Also, those responses from the Architectural Review Board are included as an attachment to the staff report. And then through the resolution, we have a series of conditions that are intended to address sort of some final revisions that will need to be done at a construction level. So we'll be looking for final landscape plans in compliance with the model water efficiency landscape ordinance, final lighting plans, stormwater compliance. They've provided a trash management plan as part of their application, but we're also looking to do some final revisions and approvals for that based on the conditions. They've been conditioned to pay impact fees as well as the affordable housing commercial linkage fee. And again, that's something that's a little bit unique to a project like this that kind of straddles the ideas of both housing in the sense that people live there, but they're in beds and they have full services provided, and there is a commercial element too. And so the linkage, commercial linkage fee is the appropriate way to address affordable housing in this case. And then lastly, we're looking at public art requirements, and we've had some conversations in the context of the City Walk Master Plan about doing a coordinated plan, but it's also possible that we would do site-specific art. So we're going to be asking for a decision to be made on that as we get into the building permit process, so we can move forward and have art in place at the time of occupancy. Again, whether it's part of a program or site-specific. The shared parking with the Bishop Ranch 1 offices, there was a parking study that was provided to as part of the application. The code analysis requires 106 parking spaces. There was a peak parking analysis done by the applicant's consultant and reviewed by the traffic engineers. And again, it's basically looking at when people are using the parking lots that exist there. And based on that analysis, there's a surplus of approximately 500 spaces. And again, we've conditioned the project to have a shared parking agreement that would be recorded on the property and binding for future, future applications and actions. I also wanted to just mention there was also a traffic analysis done that looks at the trip impacts for this project when compared to the environmental review for residential. And so there's a reduction in the average daily trips that result from this project when compared to housing that was analyzed in the EIR. And that's part of the basis for the environmental determination, which we're talking about here. There was an EIR that was done for the City Walk Master Plan. And again, it looked at all those issues regarding capacity, roadways. And when we compare this project to a residential project of the same scale, the impacts are significantly less as a result of it being residential care for the elderly. It's just a different profile in terms of project impacts and different operational considerations. But that being said, there were no significant or substantial changes that would result in a new environmental review being needed. And then we are adopting the mitigation measures from the City Walk Master Plan as part of the conditions of approval. So again, I just want to add that those mitigation measures will be the ones applicable to this site and this project. There are some that are unique to other properties. So again, we want to verify that those mitigations measures are applicable, and many of them are universal to any project that's within the master plan. But then again, some are specific to certain sites. So what we have before you tonight is a draft resolution 0921 for your consideration. It includes specific findings for the CEQA analysis, conditions of approval, outside agency comments for information, and then also the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which are incorporated as conditions by reference. So I'm going to move into the presentation by the applicant, but I'll just leave you with the recommendation that we're going to be looking for at the end of this process would be to receive the reports by staff and the applicant, open the public hearing, take public testimony, close the public hearing, discuss and deliberate, and if appropriate, adopt resolution 0921, approving the applications. So with that, I'm going to switch to the applicant's presentation and turn it over to, let me get here and turn it over to Andy. Bear with me just a second here. Okay. You there, Andy?
I am here,
Okay.
but we're still, I don't think it's up on the screen yet.
It's
There
coming.
we go. Okay.
Okay.
And Lauren, are you able to give me the cursor, or if not, don't worry about it, but if you're able to. Don't sweat it if you can.
I think if you go up under, let me see here.
I think I can
I got
change
it.
the setting or what is, you're
I
good?
just requested remote control. Can you all see my cursor moving?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Lauren. Thank you, commissioners, for having us again. As Lauren mentioned, we were before you back in the spring with a previous iteration of the project. My name's Andy Gerber. I'm with Belmont Village Senior Living. And with me on the presentation team with us is Rod Henme from HKIT Architects, as well as Kimmy Chen from Gates Landscaping. Rod's going to be taking you through part of the presentation. Kimmy will be available if you've got any questions. Rod, can you go to the next slide?
Am I doing it or you?
Lauren's.
Sorry, Lauren, my bad.
There you go.
All right. So before we get into the project, just a brief recap about who Belmont Village is. So we're a developer, owner, and operator of licensed senior care facilities throughout the U.S. We've got 13 operating locations in California, including 3 in the Bay Area, Sunnyvale, San Jose, and Albany. And then we've got a 4th community in Los Gatos, which is under construction, which will open next year. All of our communities are fully licensed. We provide a continuum of care from independent living, assisted living, and memory care. Wanted to also reemphasize we are a long-term owner, so we only operate the communities that we develop. We don't third-party manage for anybody, so we intend to be the long-term owner and operator of the community. Our history in San Ramon, we've been seeking a site for probably over 10 years now. Have really been attracted to the market. And fortunately, in 2019, we got acquainted with the team at Bishop Ranch, and we have, as you're aware, evolved the project ever since to what you see tonight. Rod, can you go to the next? I'm sorry, Lauren, can you go to the next slide, please? So getting into the project, just want to give a bit of a high level on some of the major context here, some of the major site influences. Some of the key things that we looked at in designing the site, obviously proximity to the new park, proximity to Iron Horse Trail. We're also aware that there is a future pedestrian bridge over Bollinger Canyon, which is planned. Some other influences obviously are the existence of the parking lot to the south that we'll be using for shared parking. And then we're also cognizant of the fact that there will ultimately be a multifamily project built on the north side of the property. Lauren, can you go to the next slide, please? Pardon the noise in the background. So some of the spatial relationships that we looked at as we were guiding, as we were going through the process of designing the site. First off, to note that 2 new private streets are to be built as part of the project that basically provide a full loop around the property for vehicular circulation, also provides vehicular access to the future multifamily, as well as to the park to the south. Some of the other things that we were influenced by, great views out to the west and the southwest particularly, not only over the future park, but also to the hills on the other side of the valley. And similarly, there's great views to Mount Diablo to the northeast of the site as well. As far as entry goes, we are aware that this is a somewhat tucked back location. It's off of Bollinger Canyon. Eventually, there'll be a multifamily building. So we considered it critical that we create a sense of arrival once you come down Bishop Ranch 1 East. And then also, obviously, there's the connection to the park in the future that we were mindful of. Sorry, Lauren, can you go to the next slide, please? And then also one of the common threads that came through some of your comments back when we were in front of you in the spring was to really pay mind to the pedestrian connections. And those are not only the connections for our project to some of the surrounding community features, but also ensuring that we provided access through the site to access the Iron Horse Trail, to access the future pedestrian bridge, and to get vice versa the other direction to the park. So we paid great mind to those pedestrian connections as well, obviously, with the presence of the streets here. How do we establish a pedestrian connection between our proposed project and the new park? So Lauren, can we to the next slide, please? Okay, so all of this culminates in the site plan that you see in front of you. And I want to take you kind of around the site here just to point out some key features to it. So first thing I had mentioned that, given that we're located off of Bollinger Canyon, once the multifamily project goes in, this building will be a bit less visible. So we've created a very generously sized motor court entry with decorative paving and a 2-sided fountain that'll be visible from both the motor court itself as well as for Bishop Ranch 1 East. Moving around to the south side, we, as one of the responses to the Planning Commission, we beefed up the landscaping that was visible from the south side of the building, mindful of the fact that there are a lot of people that will be parking down south, and there will also be people using the Iron Horse Trail that are going to see the project from the south side. So we wanted to make sure that we had a nice landscape buffer to that facade. Continuing to move around, you'll notice that the south wing of the building is shifted east a little bit relative to the north wing of the building. And there's a variety of reasons for this. Number one, it admits a greater amount of sunlight into the courtyard area. It expands the footprint of the courtyard area and also helps us capture some of the views to Mount Diablo to the northeast. And finally, it also opens up a little bit greater view to the southwest for some of the people on the south side of this north wing of the building. Continuing to move around, actually, can you go back to that last slide, Lauren? Thanks. Obviously, the amenity courtyard here was a central focus of our planning. We really wanted to capture views as well as just sort of a physical and visual connection to the park. So everything in our building is really oriented around this amenity courtyard. So a great number of the units on the upper floors have views down directly into the amenity courtyard. And we've provided outdoor dining here, a number of outdoor seating areas, swimming pools, although they tend to not be used as much by our residents. They tend to be great gathering spots, and they do a great job of sort of centralizing that. And as I mentioned, we really wanted to create a strong connection to the park. So in addition to orienting the entire project so that it all looks over the park and our amenity courtyard is open to the park, we've actually proposed here a raised decorative crosswalk to create an enhanced, a more aesthetic and a safer crossing for our senior residents so that they can enjoy the park as well. And then obviously the last key site planning influence was the shared parking. And although it's cut off a little bit here, you can see we've got direct access to the lot to the south. Lauren, can you go to the next slide? So with that, that's really the conclusion of the site planning discussion. I'd like to turn it over to Rod Henme, who's going to talk a little bit about the building itself and some of the specific responses we had to ARB comments from back in September. Rod?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. So as you can see from this view, we worked really hard to both define the amenity courtyard and secondly, feather the edge as it meets the park. So you can see how on the second floor, on the wing to the right, the building steps back. And then at the sixth floor, the building steps back again. So, on both wings. On the wing to the left, the north wing, we have a special gathering space, perhaps a gardening area that creates takes advantage of this wonderful view to the west and southwest. But at the same time, it reduces the mass of the building as it faces the park. You can also see that we've provided a lot of texture, a lot of depth to the treatment. And the landscaping is quite lush and provides a very strong buffer. Next, please. This view shows the color and materials board. And want to point out that the bulk of the building is cement plaster and a relatively smooth finish, but we're enlivening it with a wood finish resin panels that you can see in the brown color. Also on the base of the building, there's a ceramic tile finish that will create a really finished, honed stone-like appearance and will be really enliven the pedestrian level experience. And then in the upper right, you can see a photograph of laser cut aluminum guardrails. These will be in a kind of textured pattern, so they add a level of detail and interest that we think enriches the overall building. Next, please. We worked diligently to respond to ARB comments. We thought that the comments received were really excellent critique. On the following slides, we have the original submittal in the upper left, and then the response in the right, lower right. In this case, the view, particularly to the south, to the right side of the building, was enhanced by adding more of the wood materials and also an eyebrow to provide more depth and texture. Next, please. The entry view, the critique was that the wing on the left side of the entry, facing the entry, was plain and kind of too large. We actually reduced the reading of it by through a color change. And secondly, we added the wood panel, which enlivens that feature. Over the entry itself, over the canopy, there was a request to create to give it more depth and more interest. We added in the frame that you can see around the entry area and changed the texture of the window patterns. And so definitely we respond to those comments in that way. Next, please. On the south view, I already mentioned that we added the wood panels between the windows, so you can see 3 of them on the right side of the building, and the eyebrow on both areas creates more depth. Was a suggestion from one of the commissioners, and we thought that was a good point. It creates a nice shadow line and gives more depth on that side of the building. Next, please. From the west view, and this is from the park, you can see how from the park, when you're at eye level, as this view shows, the top floor of the building on the right wing is not seen. So by stepping back the building, it really reduces the appearance from a 6-story building to a 5-story building. And you can also see on the left wing, on the north wing, how that special terrace feature really creates a kind of attractive, let's say, lid that terminates that edge of the building. The other change that we made here, the comments are relatively subtle for this side, but they did request that we change the color in the recesses for the balconies from the white, which you can see in the upper left view, to a darker tone to create a greater sense of depth in those spaces. And so we did so. Next, please. And this is the north view of the building, where you can see again, the addition of 2 more wood paneled areas in the middle, as well as a little bit more articulation on the upper floor, but basically relatively subtle changes to the north side. So next, please. That concludes my presentation about the overall exterior treatment and response to the ARB. But we do just want to say that we're trying very hard to make an elegant addition to San Ramon, to make something that really complements Bishop Ranch and takes advantage of this really wonderful site. So thank you.
Thanks, Rod. And just to conclude, Rod, myself, and the team from Gates are here to answer any questions that the commissioners may have. Naturally, we like the evolutions that have been made to the project, and we hope you're all supportive. Before we conclude, I think Jerry Engen from Bishop Ranch wanted to make a few comments as well. So Jerry.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you, Rod. Thanks, Lauren. Good evening, Chair Kuznick and members of the commission. It's good to see you again this evening. I think, as I may have mentioned to you in the concept review, we solicited and interviewed a number of companies before we selected Belmont Village. As with the process for BR6 in Summerhill, it was important for us to select a partner that shared the same values and long-term views as us in the city of San Ramon. And that's what led us to select Belmont Village. It's proven to be a great decision. They've designed a great project that has been iterated based on input from Sunset, the staff, the commission, and the Architectural Review Board. So Sunset's very excited to be embarking now on the vision that we all set for the City Walk Master Plan. And this project's is a great and much needed use that we will all be proud to be a part of City Walk in San Ramon. So I'm here available to answer any questions as you need. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think at this time, did the commissioners have clarifying questions before we open public comment? Pardon me. Looking for hands. No questions at this time. No questions. Okay. I do have one question. On the issue of the shared parking, will that accommodate if the independent residents have cars? Will the shared parking allow for them to be parked overnight?
The parking standard is based on the operation of the facility itself. I would let Andy speak to how they manage tenants' parking. I mean, that's something that they can do through a parking program or through their policies that they have with their residents. But nonetheless, from a code standpoint, we look at employee use as well as resident use.
Yeah, and I can add to that, Commissioner Kuznick. Very few of our residents drive, even independent living residents. Our independent living residents tend to be older than some that you might see at retirement communities that are place a greater emphasis on independent living and tend to have a younger population. I think there traditionally will be a handful of residents that may keep cars that would keep them overnight. I think we'd be amenable to ensuring that they park up against the building if need be, so that they're not sitting out in the middle of the parking lot.
Okay. I just didn't know how this would work as part of
Sure.
the shared agreement. So thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Seeing none, what I would like to do then, Jen, if we could open for public comment. And
Sure.
you can remind folks what they need to do if they are interested in commenting.
Absolutely. Thank you. So anyone who would like to speak during this item may click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone if you're calling in, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. It looks like we do have at least one speaker at the moment. So what I'll do, Lauren, would you mind helping me out if you have the 3-minute timer, and I will get our speaker going whenever you're ready. Thank you. All right, so we have Jim Blickenstaff. I'm going to go ahead and pull you in here, and you can speak whenever you're ready.
Good evening, commissioners. Jim Blickenstaff. I've followed this project for a little while, and I've seen improvements. Some key ones came from the Architectural Review Board, and now it's before you, and I still think we have an opportunity here to make it fit into the community even better than it looks now, and it is an improvement. But in the review of the project tonight, I didn't see any view from the Iron Horse Trail. I didn't see a view from the east looking west, and that's an important view, and that gives a context to the building from people who are walking the trail for the obvious reasons. They like green space and the trail views, and to the extent we can look at this and have that information available to us in terms of how that view will look, and perhaps modify it as needed to make it blend better with that important trail. I think that'd be very useful information. And I didn't really see it presented tonight. And I'd like to get at least a 360-degree view of the building from the east side, which is an important view to have. I understand they focus on the court facing the green space to the other side, which is also important, but the east side is to me, is equally important because a lot of people in the San Ramon community will be walking that trail. And I'd like to have this building be a complement or at least blend with the aesthetics of a view to the west and a view to the east of the Iron Horse Trail. So if that's something that they can elaborate on further and maybe show some mitigations that are planned for that, like landscaping and buffering and perhaps similar things that they did with the court, I think that would improve it to the extent it'll fit in even better than it currently does. And I also still advise to look at modifications of color and texture and blend those in to give it a distinct look as something different than a hospital and something different than a business building. A lot of white tends to imply business building or those kind of structures, and it's not as warm and friendly as residential textures can be. And so I think that would blend it in better. And then also this and the plans for the other sites there with more housing, just reemphasize how critically important Nob Hill is going to be to this expansion of Bishop Ranch. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, let's see if there are any other speakers. We'll give you just a moment if anyone would like to hop in here. All right, through the chair, it looks like that was our only speaker.
I concur. And so we will close public comment on this item, and then we will turn it over to commissioners for discussion. So, commissioners?
Through the chair, before you start,
Okay.
if you like, I can pull up a rendering of that east elevation if it would help
Thank
in
you.
response to the comment.
Thank you.
So, let me just find it here. It's a big packet.
That's all right.
All right. Just to. All right. Almost there. Sorry. Okay. So let me close that. So I'm going to share my screen again. And this is the rendering as it would be seen essentially from the Iron Horse Trail. Where those cars are shown would be the Bishop Branch 1 East, and then the Porte Cochere to the back there. And so again, this is what it would look like as you're looking to the southwest from Iron Horse Trail.
Lauren, and this might be out of your realm of knowledge. As I recall, on the Iron Horse, there are a row of trees. Are those part of the Bishop Branch property, or are those part of the Iron Horse Trail?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
No.
Jerry might know the answer to that, but generally speaking, the trail right of way does not have a lot of trees because of the utility issues in it. So it may be close to the border or slightly onto Sunset's property. I don't know, Jerry, do you have any thoughts?
I can add to that. Our property does go beyond the curb line. I want to say it's like somewhere between 5 and 10 feet. But just so you know, too, that I'm working closely with the Public Works Department, Teresa and Robin, who are coordinating and managing the design and construction of Iron Horse overcrossing. And this area, in fact, where you're looking now, all of that landscaping is being redone, remounded as part of the transition from the bridge coming down and meeting grade. So there'll be a lot of all brand new landscaping as part of this connection. And we're coordinating those two crosswalks that have been proposed by Belmont Village to make connection to Iron Horse Trail. We're coordinating that with bridge designers in order to make all of those connections work for the crossing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was my impression using the Iron Horse that you can't really see your property from the trail at this time anyway. So that was
That's right.
My impact or my impression. All right, thank you. And thank you for the update on that. All right, commissioners, discussions, comments? I see no hands raised. This is the first. All right, then is there a motion? All right, Commissioner Marks, thank you.
I'm not going to make a motion. I just have some comments.
Okay.
I think this is a very well-designed project. And I think you have responded very well to the ARB's concerns as well as ours. I think for me, even more importantly, and this is really a compliment to Sunset, this is a really good location for this kind of land use. Having spent 6 years in 2 facilities with my working with my parents as they lived in facilities very much like this, I can tell you that for the families that are involved, that will be visiting in times that are good, as well as in times that are bad, this proximity to the shopping center is really very beneficial. There are days when people will be spending all day because they're in a crisis situation, being near the restaurants, being near the CVS and other services, or in general, just showing up at your parents' room and finding that they need something. You don't need to get in the car and drive somewhere. You can easily walk to almost any place in the shopping center and get almost anything you would need. And for the variety of experiences there, memory care, independent living, and assisted living, you find yourself frequently making trips to shopping centers for various things. And so I think you couldn't come up with a much better location for this kind of use. Yes, the scale is what it is, but it is very well designed. In fact, in my mind, some of the changes that you have made offer design cues to what might happen on the rest of the overall property. The way you've handled some of the recesses, the eyebrows, the recesses at the upper levels, and the use of complementary but darker colors to accentuate the fact that the facade has changed, I think create a scale that's workable on that side. So I'm very complimentary of the design. I'm very complimentary of the use. I don't think I'm ready to move into the place when it opens, but who knows, someday.
Be nice to your children. Thank you, Commissioner Marks. Commissioner Alpert, you're next on my screen. Comments?
I think it's an outstanding project. Well done from start to finish. I'm ready to make a decision tonight, and if appropriate, I'll already make a motion that we adopt the resolution.
Okay. Do the other commissioners like to weigh in before commenting on the motion? Commissioner Wallace, you're next on my screen. Comments?
I actually don't have any comments.
Okay. Commissioner Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight was my first real introduction to this project. I shared the compliments. I thought your project narrative in particular was exceptionally well written. It's a beautiful project. It's a beautiful project. I'm looking forward to seeing it constructed. And I share Commissioner Alpert's interest in moving the project forward to approval tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will just add a couple of comments to wrap up this. And I would just, my only comment is that I don't think having both parents in assisted living and one currently in assisted living, the 4 parking places at the entrance, I don't think is enough, as particularly on holidays and so forth, as family comes and get very busy. And I'm also somewhat concerned that the south side where there is parking, there does not seem to be an entrance for guests or even residents on the south side, that they would have to walk all the way around either to the east or to the west to enter the facility. But those were just the small comments that I had in regards to the issue. And I just really hope that there's good security on the courtyard coming from the park. With seniors, we don't want them making unnecessary or unauthorized trips away, nor having people enter unauthorized. So that's your business area, but I just wanted to offer my concerns for those and trust that you will be good providers for the care that are there. So any other comments, gentlemen, ladies, lady, Commissioner? All right, so we had a motion from Commissioner Alpert. Your motion was, Commissioner Alpert?
I move that we adopt resolution 0921, resolution of the Planning Commission, City of San Ramon, approving the development plan DP 2021-0005, the land use permit, the architectural review for the Belmont Village Senior Care Facility.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a second. All right.
Thank you. Okay, so we had mover Vice Chair Alpert,
Aye.
seconder Commissioner Marks,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace.
Aye.
Thank you. And Chair Kuznick.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 10.1 passes.
So congratulations. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing this project come to fruition for our community. So thank you. It was, again, I want to also say that it looks like a fantastic project. And thank you for listening and working so hard for us and the residents and families.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. We move on to item 11. Okay. non-public hearing items? There are none. All right, item 12, study session, commissioner liaison report and interest items. Do we have reports from commissioners?
Chair Kuznick, just wanted, you might be looking at the old agenda I had for you.
Oh,
You
you're
have
right.
one item on there, the
My
ad
bad.
hoc.
Sorry, are you allowed to say that? My bad. All right. Turn this over to planning manager Barr. Yes, 12.1 ad hoc committees.
Thank you. So as you're all aware, we are in the process of a housing element update as well as general plan amendments in response to that update. And we'll be touching several of the elements of the general plan in response to necessary changes. And I think many of you are aware that the schedule and processing timelines are getting compressed on us due to new legislation. And so we would like to form a planning commission ad hoc committee to serve as a sounding board for staff in reviewing technical reports and providing information or helping review information in advance of bringing it to the full committee. And again, it's something where we would have two of you that would just, again, help us to formulate the decisions that we're going to make so that we have some guidance moving forward to the full commission and other committees as well. So I hope that does an adequate job of explaining what we're looking for.
Okay,
We're looking for 2 volunteers, actually.
2 volunteers, correct.
Commissioner March, you put your hand up.
I rarely do this. My experience with the Air Force wasn't wonderful, but I will volunteer to do this.
Oh, Air Force. All right.
And looks like we have a second hand. Commissioner Wallace.
Yeah, I wasn't in the Air Force. I just never sat in the front row. I was in class, but I will volunteer for this one as well.
Excellent.
Great.
All right, so thank you so much. We look forward to your work on our behalf. All right, so let me go back to, are there any liaison reports before we move? Transportation Committee meets Thursday, so we have not met.
I have one from
Okay,
Open
Commissioner
Space.
Wallace, thank you.
Yeah, I attended the Open Space Committee meeting last week. They have a series of hikes on a monthly basis that's scheduled from this month through next spring, a very aggressive plan. Obviously, it depends on the weather. Some of us hope that they get rained out, but we'll see. The other thing they talked about, 2 other things they talked about was Open Space is going to give a presentation to the City Council probably right after New Year's about a plan for open space. Again, the problem is one of money, which they still haven't talked about how much money they have to do anything, but you know, they have some, I won't say aggressive ideas, but progressive ideas at least. And they are still talking about having an open space regional conference where they have NGOs and government agencies from throughout the East Bay area come in and talk about best practices for preserving and acquiring open space. I think that is a very, not aggressive, but very,
Ambitious.
they want to do a lot. They want to do a lot. And we'll see how well their bite works to put that all together. I mean, as you know, the East Bay is a very varied set of areas, and I'm not sure how much people in Antioch or Pittsburgh have in common with San Ramon. Obviously, Dublin and Danville do. And to me, that's where they should be focusing. But I think they have more interest in a broader net, so to say.
Again, Ms. Chamberlain, your hand is up. You're on mute.
Just after the balance of commissioners' comments, I have a couple things to offer. And then we also have a speaker's hand raised. I'm not sure if it's for the previous item or if it's related to commissioner comments.
Okay, do we normally reopen public comment at this time?
the matter was closed and approved, but the speaker may wish to speak under comments regarding the ad hoc committee, and they do have the ability to ask questions and have public comment.
Okay, very good. All right, so Jen, can we open for
Sure.
the raised hand?
All right. Joyce, if you'd like to speak on this item, I'll go ahead and let you speak whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Jen. I clicked when I knew it might not be the right time. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, not be the right time, but it was just an opportunity for me to comment on the Belmont. And I too had a mother who lived in a care facility and had to drive quite a distance to get things that she needed. I'd get there and then have to go back to the store and whatever. And it kind of tied in with Mr. Mark's remarks and also, and Ms. Kuznick, and it also with Jim Blicken's staff. I know that the Nob Hill is going to be coming before you guys soon. Well, that's what I was told anyway. And that supermarket is again something that's really important to keep in mind, to keep there when you have the Belmont across the street. So I just wanted to add that in, and I appreciate, Debbie, you're noticing my hand, and Jean, and letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
We appreciate your comments, and
Sure.
you're always welcome to raise your hand with us.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you. All right, so I'm going to assume there are no more liaison reports. Thank you. All right, so we're going back to Ms. Chamberlain.
Good evening. Just want to give you a brief update. I met with the programming committee for our conference coming up in March 16th through the 18th in San Ramon for the Commissioners Academy. It's going to be a great session, and it's going to be at the San Ramon Marriott, as we all know. So just to give you a reminder for that. And so the sessions will be similar to what we've seen in the past. We'll be getting you information on registration. Hopefully by mid-March, we're hoping to announce the registration date, but just to give you an update that the Academy will be moving forward in person and in San Ramon. So the great opportunity to promote our community, our new city center project, and all the great things, open space, hiking trails, walking district that we have to offer. So we will be having further discussions regarding that as it moves closer to that to the conference.
Thank you. That's really exciting news. So well done. And
it is very exciting.
It's very exciting. All right. Any other items for the good of the order here? Seeing none. Lauren, do you have things that you wanted to talk about in terms of coming calendar events? You usually do at this point.
I'll just mention that we are anticipating December 7th to come back with the Golden Skates townhome proposal that you saw at your last meeting. In addition, we're working on a concept review for the Rome property. It should be ready for that meeting as well. And then we currently have nothing scheduled for the second meeting in December, and we're anticipating canceling the first meeting in January. That's, I believe, January 4th. So we'll keep you posted on that, and we'll be finalizing the agenda in the next week or so.
Thank you very much. Is it appropriate to ask if we could actually get a copy of the letter that was sent at 5:30 at the last meeting that didn't get to us about Golden Skate?
Yeah, we can definitely give you a copy of that.
Thank you.
Jen, do you know, has it been uploaded to the last packet or not?
Which letter was this for?
This was
staff report too. So
yeah, but the late communication from Brian Winter on at the last meeting that we reviewed some of the condition revisions.
I don't know. I don't know if I actually ever got that. So I could double check, but I'll send it. We could always send it to them tomorrow.
We'll get it out to you tomorrow.
Thank you. That would be helpful. I would be interested in seeing that, and I hope I speak for all here. All right. Seeing no other business, and appreciating and valuing all, and wishing everyone a very happy Thanksgiving holiday, and blessings to you and your families. We will adjourn the meeting at 8:01. Thank you, everyone. Well done.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Steve.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank
Good
you all.
night.